Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a button, a clickable button that works with physics and your hand. I have it set right here. I'm going to remake it. This button, how it works with the hand, can be translated to any sort of button that you have in the scene, attached to any sort of object, like a lamp here. This works the same way. So yeah, let's get started. First, on your hand model, I have attached a really small, simple collider on the index finger that works with, that will make the physics sort of work on it. Right, so I'm just going to pull it in just a little bit closer. Right. Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay. So let's start making the button. I'm going to right click, create an empty game object, call this button. I'm going to reset the transforms, bring it up onto the table, just maybe right here. Oh. And of course, if you bring in your own model that has a button, you'll want to create an empty game object and sort of follow this procedure for that, for your own custom model. So in the button, I'm going to create a 3D object, cylinder. I'm going to scale it down to 1.1. I like that. And you don't want to move it from the actual object, you only want to move it from the empty game object. In the cylinder, I'm going to remove the component of the capsule collider. I'm also going to call this a base of the button. And on the base of the button, I want to add a rigid body and set it to is kinematic so it doesn't move. And I'm going to give it a mesh collider as well and set it to convex. Convex, we can see the wireframe. Perfect. So from here, I'm going to want to add another empty game object. What do I call it? Oh, I call this push. Right. And I just want to duplicate the base and attach that base to the new empty game object push and call the new base clicker. This is what actually will be present in the click. And on the clicker, well, from the push, I'm just going to drag it up. And on the clicker, I'm just going to scale it down. Scale it down. And I'm going to change the material to red here. Perfect. So I'm just going to delete the rigid body, delete the mesh collider. Right. So on the push empty game object, I want to add a configurable joint, which automatically gives us a rigid body. And on the push rigid body, I want to take off use gravity and freeze all the rotations and positions except for Y, because it is going to move in Y, right? And from there, on the configurable joint, we want to add a connected body, which is a rigid body. That's the rigid body we made on the base, so you drag that there. That's how it knows what it's connected to. And we want to freeze all the motions here except for Y, so that's a limited, because that's where it wants to move. That's where it's going to move. And on the linear limit, this is going to tell it how much it's going to move, so maybe 0.05. I think it's fine. You can always mess with this after. On the Y drive, let's make it a little springy, so maybe 5. And then dampener 10. That might be a little too springy, but we'll see. And then on the push itself, we need a box collider. Also scale that down to fit the surface area of the button. Bring it up a little bit, bring it down a little bit, scale it in. I think that's fine. Just make sure I got that all set and done. Right. Here's the kinematic button. is it, actually. So we can now test this out. Okay, perfect. So let's test it out. I'm going to putting on my headset. Alright, give it one moment. Perfect, here I am. Here's my button. I can see. There we go. Alright, now you will also be given a script called VR button press. So that'll allow anything to trigger on pressing a button. So what if you wanted this button to turn on a light or open a door or do any sort of animation? So what we're going to do is in the push empty game object, I'm going to create a 3D cube. I'm going to turn off the mesh renderer, turn off the mesh filter, and this is going to be my trigger. So when the button enters into the trigger, it will turn on the light for this example. So I'm going to scale this all the way 1.1. I'll bring that back up to just under my button. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, cool. So okay, so now on the trigger, so I'm gonna call this light trig. I'm going to attach the VR button press, and I can see that I have on pressed 1, on pressed secondary, and on released. And dead time. I'm just going to turn that to 0. So I want the button on the first press to turn on a light. So I have a point light here that is just red. I want the button to activate that light. So on the on pressed event, on the button trigger, I'm going to drag in the light. And I'm going to do no function, change that to game object, set active bool to be on. Right? And I'm just going to turn off the light because I want it to start off. Now hit the button once, it'll turn on the light. On the secondary press, I'm going to attach the same light, game object, set active bool off. So the first light will turn on the light, the second press will turn off the light. And I'm keeping my point light off in the scene. Let's save and test that out. Putting on my headset. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Okay, in the scene, going to my button. Boom. Turns it on, turns it off. Turns it on, turns it off, turns it on, turns it off. Cool, and that can be used to activate anything. And basically this concept for the button can also work for a button like this. Whoop, here we go, on, off. See, it's a button like that, on, off, off. Perfect.